Evening, Dan. Thanks for taking time out to talk to us this evening. Lots has gone on over the last few weeks. Renovations at the ground, meetings with the league. But firstly, how are you finding things trying to guide the club through this pandemic, especially with no income coming in yet all your staff are being paid?
How am I finding it? I'm finding it a lot easier, perhaps, today, and as each week goes by, as mad as that seems, because obviously we're hemorrhaging money, but I think the first thing we had to do was get people safe and make sure they were secure, and that, you know, there was a few bob going into their account, and really take stock. So I think that's what we did initially, and then we could start to see how we could move forward. None of us really know what the new normal is going to be in terms of football. So, you know, we've started to put together, you know, one-way systems at the club, and, you know, the renovations on the pitch have already started, and the pitch looks fantastic already. And then obviously, you know, we had the meeting yesterday with the league, and sort of, so the end of last season, or this current season, is now becoming much clearer, and so, you know, we're starting to understand perhaps how our new normal might look over the coming months.
And there's been plenty of speculation, certainly online, regarding how this season may conclude. One of those is with the playoffs. Following your meetings with the league, can you confirm if the playoffs will take place, or is that not yet confirmed?
No, it's not confirmed. I can give you my opinion, which is very different to clarifying everything that will be agreed over the coming 2 or 3 days. We were all clubs in Premier, North and South were involved in Zoom meetings with the chief exec, Michael Tattersall, the board, and an FA representative. The board chairman, the Premier team's chairman went first, basically, and we were given a resolution an hour before the meeting, and then a presentation sort of pack which arrived about 30 minutes before. So of that there was a few surprises, and probably the biggest one for most chairmen, well, not pretty much for all chairmen, was the government's decision not to call the North and South not elite sport. It was something I'm not sure anybody was anticipating, including the board, including Michael. And that changed the dynamics of the whole meeting, really. I think what we'd gone into that meeting expecting perhaps was we would follow the EFL, Leagues 1 and 2, it'd be points per game, it would be relegation, promotion and playoffs, and that would be followed down into the National League and North and South. And of course with the government deciding step 2 is not elite sport, it meant that there's no playoffs at that level, and that led to, you know, or that will lead, I believe, you know, if the vote goes as I expect it to, through the North, the South, and the Premier teams, and I think it will. I mean, I don't think there's a doubt on that, on what I heard and what I saw, and the comments that were made. And I would, you know, so that's going to lead to no playoffs at step 2. It's going to lead to champion clubs being Kings Lynn, Wealdstone and Barrow, and you've got to congratulate those clubs. You know, there's always going to be losers, and I think the hardest ones, it's going to be very hard for York and Havant and the playoff teams at step 2 to look at that. But it would have been equally difficult for the relegated clubs at step 1 not to have had a chance to get out of it. So there isn't a wrong way, there isn't a right way, it's just what is, and what is going to be Barrow champions, Kings Lynn champions, Wealdstone champions. It will lead to, with not having two up two up from the north and the south, it will lead to just Chorley being relegated, I believe. And then it's 6 teams, which includes us, in the playoffs. And so that's where I believe we'll all be sitting come Monday night. I know there's a meeting today, a disciplinary meeting, that relates to Macclesfield, and I think there'll be a decision made whether it's Stevenage who comes into the National League or Macclesfield, and I think that's where we'll be come Monday night.
Excellent. So come Monday night, we could find ourselves in the playoffs. It looks like if it follows suit, it'd be a home game against Halifax. But surely just to take part in the playoffs is going to cost the clubs significant money.
Yeah, but we're all in the league to compete. So we have to get ourselves ready, and we've known that for 10-12 weeks. If they call playoffs on, we're 5th. We know we've got Halifax at home, and if whoever's the victor of that game, are travelling to Harrogate in a semi-final. We've been there before. We might be the smallest club or the least supported club in it, but we know how to compete. We've been in the playoffs before. We won the playoffs at Ryman level. We won the playoffs at Conference South level, and we'll look to compete and see where it takes us. Again, 2 years ago we was at Wembley, and I expect us to be ready. We'll be fit, we'll be focused, and we'll be believing. So we've got 5 weeks, and we'll be ready.
And obviously, with many players out of contract, loan players returning to their clubs, I think we may only have a squad potentially now of 9 or 10 players. I'm sure the supporters are going to want to know how we're going to get the required players to take part in the playoffs.
Well, we need to look. We need to maintain the integrity of the competition. So the first thing we'll do is try and put the original squad back. But there's going to have to be a bit of give and take with all the 6 teams. None of us have been into a playoff during a pandemic, and how we're going to do it, and it's got to be behind closed doors, and we've got to deal with testing and safety protocols and government guidelines, and we've got to make sure that we do this step by step, and which we'll do. BT will be televising the games live. All the playoff games will be televised live, and it's going to be, as I say, we're going to recognise the new normal quite quickly, I would think.
Fantastic. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there's some changes and renovations to the club. Is that taking place all in aid of obviously COVID-19 and making sure that the site's going to be COVID secure when maybe players return or the college returns?
Yeah, the one thing we've tried to do is, obviously with the staff, we want them also to be included in our safety procedures, whether it's at touch points or one-way systems, or how we deal with just management of situations. We've got the study suites, we've got the Astra pitch, we've got a fantastic site which has got everything on board. But again, we've got to look at sooner or later how we get a limited crowd into the ground, if we're going to start next season in a productive way. So bit by bit, we'll be looking at ways to test, and how can we do that? How do we remain within government guidelines? When will the Astra pitch work? How can it open? How will we deal with sort of everything from sanitisation to people using the toilets to social distancing, and it's all a challenge, but we'll find a way.
Fantastic. And recently the club have launched the new 500 club, the Boreham Football Community Trust 500 Club. Part of those monies will go towards helping the community, as well as making sure the site
Yeah.
is COVID secure. I think currently we're around 33% numbers sold.
What does that mean in numbers?
Well, I think it's about 125 numbers sold. Still a long way to go to making it a success. What would your sort of comments be to supporters and those maybe listening in terms of getting involved?
I'd say 33% from those numbers. You need to sort your maths out. But no, what I would say is if it's a 500 club, we're asking people really to really participate in what we're trying to do. You know, there's a lot of small charities out there. There's a lot of the community initiatives with the schools. There's lots of our little things which the season ticket offers and all the bits and pieces. And I feel, you know, I feel probably closer to the town and the community than ever. And I feel that, as I said, you know, 3 months ago, the new social responsibility and the moral compass is, I feel we've tried to be very honest and open with our supporters and our community on where we are. You know, we had you know, strongly held beliefs on safety and caring about what, you know, remember at one stage we're being asked questions. There's 1,100 people a day were dying at the time, and yet people wanted to focus perhaps on things that it was perhaps inappropriate at the time. I think we can now start to look at those things, but the community, you know, everything we do, we've got to take the community with us, and now there's playoffs. We want to take that community and the town, we want to put us in the EFL, you know, so that community, you know, come the end of July, you know, could be a football league town, and it's exciting.
And for Bournemouth, football league or not, when can we expect sort of next season to start? I mean, it's been mooted that behind closed doors it'd have to be behind closed doors, but is that a realistic option for clubs at, say, League One, League Two, and non-league level?
I can't talk for the EFL because I haven't been in their meetings. I can tell you that it was very clear from the presentation from the National League that they're hoping for a September start. Obviously, there's a lot of hoops to jump through before then. I mean, they didn't talk about testing, and I mean, because testing just to come through the playoffs, if you're testing once a week for 30 people and what the costs are, 4 or 5 weeks, you're talking 20,000 per club. So if you times that by, say, a 44-week season, pre-season and a season with the players, you're talking about between 160 and 170,000. Well, the clubs just haven't got that at our level. So there's lots of things like that everyone will have to discuss. But ostensibly, what they've said is, if you took it, that they would like to be back playing in September, and you know everyone's going to have to be flexible, but there may be the possibility that we could have up to 30% of crowds in to stadiums, dependent on configurations and safety and how would you do that. But that's, you know, as you know, things are changing daily, hourly, weekly, and so September's what, another 3 months away. So there's a lot of water to go under bridges. But I do have to say the presentation that they gave, it felt positive. As I say, I know that's not a positive thing for the lads and the clubs that who are sitting in playoff positions in at step 2. But you know, I think that was out of the league's hands, the FA's hands. That was government. That was a government decision. But yeah, I mean, I'm very hopeful now that perhaps there could be a September start, which I certainly wasn't 10 weeks ago.
Well, it'll certainly be a positive thing for supporters. I know they're itching to get back down to Vale Park at some point to support the players. Back in terms of playoffs, has there been any dates announced as to when they might take place?
Yeah, there's provisional dates. You know, they're talking about we must sort of start them, as, you know, no later than July the 18th. So if you look around about mid-July, and they'd like to have them finished by the end of July. So again, look at July 31st. Again, for ourselves, you know, we've also got our training facility on site. We'll have the first team pitch, which, as I say, which will be utilised as well. So we're in great shape. On site, we've got 5 changing rooms. We've got, you know, a full-size Astra pitch. We've got a fantastic first team pitch. So for everything, for our preparation, we're a long way down the line. We've had meetings today, myself and the gaffer and the chief exec. We've held Zoom calls with, you know, head of medical, Megan Reid. So we know what we've got to do. It's really now the league, I suppose, knowing where they stand, because as in any vote, it's not 100% sure. It feels to me, as I say, it felt to me there was a positive response to what the league proposal was once it had been established that step 2, there was no playoffs at step 2. It sort of, everything seemed to drop into place in terms of what your decision needed to be. Because there was a lot of feelings between playoffs at League 2 and relegation out of Step 1, not League 2, Step 2. And again, you know, when you're voting, you've got to take that very seriously. But as I say, there's 3 champion clubs now, I think, will be elected, or will be, that resolution will be agreed on come Monday. And I just think you've also got to congratulate, you know, Barrow, who've been amazing all season, Wildston, who've led that league from day dot, and Kings Lynn. You know, again, you know, that's no mean feat to go and top the Conference North. It's a tough division. It's got some big clubs in it, and so for every loser, there's a winner. And in a way, I suppose, for the National League, the two clubs that were saved in Fylde and Ebbsfleet, you know, they were coming good at the right time. I mean, I think Ebbsfleet would have been relegated on 0.02% or something, and so whatever which way you look at it, there's going to be people dancing in the aisles, and there's going to be people crying in their into their soups. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate.
And last question on the players: if you were lucky enough to make it to the final, would that be a Wembley final? Or would that be a final at an alternative ground?
It will be at a neutral ground. I think they established in the resolution, the FA sort of made it clear that Wembley was too expensive for what was for the playoff final, and perhaps that's already been pre-decided between them and the National League Board. Them costs weren't discussed, but it wouldn't be Wembley, no. I think League 1 and League 2 are Wembley. But remember, they're also, you know, they're protected with Sky money and Premier League money. You know, we're going into this, we have no income coming in, and we're going into this. Every club's been, you know, has been told, you know, the costs lay squarely at our door. Whether it's testing or whatever. There's a small fee, I think, that we'll receive from BT Sport, but it is a small fee. So, you know, as again in all football matters, we're doing it for the glory, and you know, may the best team win. But we're not going into. We know what to expect. You know, we were there 2 years ago when we beat Fylde in the sort of, let's say, the quarterfinals. We went to Sutton and beat them, and we lost that narrowly to Tranmere. So hopefully we can win promotion and meet Tranmere again next season. But that seems a long way off at the moment.
And from what you were just saying there, in terms of all the protocols and the testing that's required, you know, the money you're talking about, are you talking about tens of thousands, or does that sort of go into the hundreds of thousands?
I think you've got to be ready to go up to 100,000, because that's the figure that was being bandied around at the meeting. The playoffs could cost any club, by the time you've taken players off a furlough, you know, you've looked at your 20,000 plus, you know, with your coronavirus testing. Then you've got to find ways, if you come through the first stage, to go into the second stage, and then you're dealing with transport issues. Nobody really knows at that point, will hotels be open? So if we were, for instance, going to Harrogate, how would that look? So I don't think we'll be spending 100,000, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in and around 75,000 to compete.
You know, and certainly for a club of our size, let alone the clubs in the playoffs or in Notts County and Harrogate and Barney, you know, it's a significant amount of money that people have got to find.
Yeah, but again, the problem you've got is it's not like you're gonna have a full house against Halifax, and then it's not like you're gonna have a shared gate going up to Harrogate. It's not like suddenly there's gonna be, you know, a shared gate at the neutral ground, or it would have been Wembley. So then things don't exist. Again, you know, we're looking hopefully to see how many of our sponsors will remain loyal. So no, you know, what's really important for ourselves is also, I feel now that we'll be able to, you know, perhaps open up maybe for a limited amount of season tickets to be sold. You know, I feel confident enough, which I didn't 10 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, probably even up to the meeting yesterday, to perhaps create, you know, a season ticket price for the supporters. Originally, as you know, we were going to look at a £99 season ticket, and I said I couldn't do that, you know, not knowing where we were and if we would have crowds, even if the league would start this season, next season. And I feel more confident that may start in September. So I've got to look at a balance, and you might be able to help me, you know, by canvassing the supporters. You know, would they perhaps consider, you know, slightly increasing it to maybe 149 for the adults and the OAPs, which might work out about £6 something a game. But remember, it could be if we look to sell 500 adults and OAPs, instead of that 30% capacity, that would give us 12.5% sold, and that might help us, you know, with funding the playoffs. And also as well, you know, you could be getting an EFL League 2 season ticket for £149, but I don't want to do that if it upsets the supporters or they don't feel that that's correct, you know. So we've got to find a balance, as we have to with the 500 club and the community. We have to find a balance because we're the smallest club in it. But I think anybody who saw the Bournemouth Barrow 1-1 draw, for me, the best game that's ever been played in my time as chairman at the club. In every game I'd ever seen when my father was manager, you know, the big FA Cup games. I just thought it was a fantastic advertisement. We had 1,100 supporters in there that day, which doesn't sound a lot to, you know, your bigger clubs. But, you know, just since Christmas, we've averaged 1,118 supporters, you know, at home, and again, these are big milestones for us. You know, we're starting to feel. I think we're starting to feel and act and look like a Football League club, you know, I think if you keep knocking on the door, you know, sooner or later it's going to open. We've believed in ourselves. We believe this is our time. If we can put the band back together, which I think, you know, we're making huge strides already. We will have more than 10 players, that's for sure. You're going to see a lot of last year's squad back. You know, there's a lot of positivity. We've got a great gaffer. We've got an exciting, you know, chief exec. We've got an exciting, you know, young club. It's full of energy, and who knows? You know, I could be sitting here talking to you in 6 weeks' time, and it's been the greatest season in the club's history. I didn't expect us to be saying that, you know, and I think we've also got to be respectful. There's still people losing their lives. You know, the NHS is still putting, you know, themselves, you know, on that front line, and you know, and we could be getting another spike at any stage. So I think we've also got to be cautious moving forward. But just for tonight and just for the the next few weeks, let's dare to dream and who knows, it could be our time. I know one thing, the community's been amazing with their messages and their support. One supporter, Alan Swan, has been fantastic in his support of the club. But they all have, I hear from you when you're telling me that they're putting into a fund for season tickets and, they're all excited that the playoffs are on. I hear all the rumours that we can't afford it and we're not going in it and we're going to pull out of it. Our town's got to know we'll be ready, we'll be focused, we believe. And any team that underestimates us, we'll dump them out and we'll see where it takes us. But we're so excited and we're so looking forward to it. But we're going to need everyone on board, all our community, all our town, and as I say, perhaps you can get back to me on what they feel is a reasonable figure for a season ticket. And we can put them on South as of Monday if that's what they want. But it will only be 500 adults and OAPs. It'll be a limited amount sold because I don't want to go too much. 12.5% of a 4,000 capacity is all I want to do because I've also got to deal with the youngsters and the kiddies and all the other bits and pieces, and we'll need to look at that a bit further down the line.
Fantastic. Thanks for talking to us, Dan. Hopefully, come Monday evening, we'll find out we're definitely in the playoffs and go on to win it.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. God bless. Bye bye.